Welcome, Murthy sir. Welcome to the forum once again.
All the
Yeah,
best, Dr.
thank you,
Rajesh.
thank you very much. Thank you very much. As per the norms, at sharp 5:11, I'm going to start. 2 minutes left. Shivani, thanks a lot. Hitesh, Abhishek, all team members, thanks a lot for arranging everything.
You're welcome, sir.
We have almost crossed 25 attendees and 2 minutes to go. Respected Sunil Sood, again I welcome you on behalf of Igniting Power Engineers.
Thank you very much.
And we are very much excited to learn many things from your experience.
Oh, looking very scary. For me.
So, sir, your face is not visible. You have to put a light before your face.
Now visible.
Now, of course, not even now. It's not very visible.
What to do then? Is it correct now?
Now it's okay.
My voice is clear.
Yes, it is clear. No problem, sir. Only 1 minute to go. Yeah, it is 5:11. I welcome all of you, all the attendees on behalf of Igniting Power Engineers who have come here out of their busy schedule to attend very special webinar number 4 of Igniting Power Engineers that started around 1 month ago with the objective of this dissemination of knowledge. And we will be inviting all the stalwarts in the different fields in the power systems to share his experiences so that all the learners and the learned both can learn the things. And this is a big journey, and every journey starts with a single step. And on at Igniting Power Engineer Forum, I have taken that step. I am very thankful to everyone, and I will be failing in my duty if I don't talk about the motivational forces behind that forum. First of all, I would like to thank my family almighty. Then few names are there: Honorable Mahis Saab, Sahil sir, R.K. Rajput sir, respected Anjuli ma'am, Sunny Nagpal, respected Power sir, Vikas ji, Gopa Kumar ji, respected Honorable K.K. Murthy sir, N.K. Mittal sir, P. Ramachandran sir, Dr. Rajamani sir, Sanjay Patki sir, Mehta sir, Manas Kundu sir, Sanjay Agarwal ji, Yogesh Shu, Mr. Pandey, J. Pandey, Ima, Saket Gupta, S.K. Batra ji, Sanjeev Banerjee, P.K. Patnaik, last but not the least, honorable guest of today, Sunil Sood sir. Before I invite the real gem of the day, without wasting my time, I would like to tell you a few things about the gem of today's speakers, the presenters, respected Honorable Sunil Sood sir. He is among the few energy experts who initiated and advocated the energy efficiency aspects in India. He is basically a mechanical engineer. He is presently the director of LCG Energy Consultants Private Limited. He has worked with Mecon Limited for a large part of his career, and he has been doing a lot of activities in the field of energy waste management, sustainable development, and presently he is promoting a project known as Grah Shiksha Kendra, designed to mainstream sustainability through the concepts of homeschooling, self-learning, integrating sustainability. Moreover, he has also started an initiative named Mission Sustainable India 2022, 2022, and for the preparations of a vision document on taking India to a sustainable development path by 15th August 2020. Let us give a respected Honorable Sunil sir a big round of applause. Shivani, please unmute everyone in his honor before he comes on the stage and make that stage on the fire.
Everybody's on mute.
Welcome, sir. Now stage is yours, and kindly enlighten us with your experience. And we will be. Your presentation is going to finish at 5:55, and after for last 20 minutes we will be taking some question and answer, and I will be asking some frequently asked questions that I have collected from all the participants in advance, and we are eagerly waiting for that one. Thank you. Welcome again, sir. Please start your presentation. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rajesh. Very nice introduction. And I am really glad that you have started with just sharp timing, 5:11. So followed that. And in fact, somebody asked me why this timing like this, 5:11 and 6:21 sharp.
Yeah.
So that is
Sir,
one of the
I have already replied that question to many persons. Some people don't do anything different. They do the things differently. I am one of them.
That's correct. Actually, I have been wanting to do these type of things, but then I was always taught why being so particular about it. But
Okay.
this is you have sent a very powerful message.
Yeah.
So power igniting power engineers to in terms of time.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Please please share your screen right now.
May I start with my self introduction? I mean, how I started with this. May I start like that? Or shall I start with my presentation? I think I'll spend for a few minutes on telling how my journey towards energy efficiency started. Am I audible? Am I audible? Are you able to hear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please go ahead. It is very loud and clear.
What had happened in 1989 or so, when I was still working in Mecon Limited, Bangalore, I had to attend one business meet organized by Industrial Development Bank of India and also jointly with PCRA, Petroleum Conservation Research Association. At that time, I came to know about this concept of energy audit. I didn't know anything till then. What is this concept, energy audit? So, after hearing the speakers and others experts about this concept and how this can help, and there was one chief guest from Industries Association. He also talked about this, and he told that there should be mandatory energy audit in industries. I was really very much impressed with this concept, and I used to write letters to editor in local newspapers. Then I wrote one letter to Deccan Herald, Bangalore, that I happened to attend this meet, and a new concept about energy audit was discussed, and should be taken seriously, and they should be made mandatory like accounts auditing. So with that, I got really fascinated by this concept of energy efficiency, energy audit and all that. Even though we are in Mecon, we used to select equipment, we used to size, and we used to do system engineering, everything. But energy efficiency was not one very big consideration till then. So when I studied in depth about this, then I got more fascinated, and what happened due to several reasons, then finally I left in Mecon in 1991, and I had to shift to my place, Bhopal. So there in Bhopal, first 6 months I worked with Blue Star Limited in their air conditioning, central air conditioning system division. And after that I left the Blue Star also, and I got a chance to work with schemes of Madhya Pradesh Urja Vikas Nigam Limited. Madhya Pradesh Urja Vikas Nigam is a counterpart, is a state designated agency. Till then, there was no sign of any law. There was no Energy Conservation Act. There was no sign of any Bureau of Energy Efficiency. All the energy audit, other energy efficiency related works were all voluntary. And Madhya Pradesh Urja Vikas Nigam as well as JEDA, they were the leading state agencies promoting energy conservation and efficiency. And at the central level, there at that time there was Energy Management Center under Ministry of Power. This Energy Management Center was later merged into BE when Energy Conservation Act was passed in 2001. So this is where how my journey started, and more I went into in depth of this concept, more I realized wonderful benefits if we promote energy conservation and efficiency. One of the reason was those days lot of import, even now import was happening. So I used to wonder why are not we promoting conservation efficiency and reduce our import bill. At the same time, more than those days, more than 50% household didn't have electricity. There was no access to electricity. So I used to wonder why it is not being taken seriously so that we can save electricity, and even if we give donate free to those who don't have electricity, it will be still worth, because they will then buy equipment, they will start with a light, they will start with a small electrical appliance. So whose business will increase? Our business will increase. So in that case, why are not we promoting it rigorously in a son? So I started, of course, as a business, but it was also my passion to take this concept to a higher level. So I used to take a lot of field activities. All that story I can tell some other day. But finally, it happened that in 1995 there was a talk. Those days, Energy Management Center was headed by one Dr. Bhaskar Natarajan. Dr. Bhaskar Natarajan was the first person to initiate that there is a need for a law. Till then, there was no talk of any law. So his leadership, this law was actually initiated in 1995. And by that time, 2000, it took another 5 years that this law was finally drafted. It was introduced as a bill in 2000. And in 2001, it was passed. So on 1st October 2001, it was passed. And on 1st March 2002, Bureau of Energy Efficiency was formulated, was notified. So we were having a lot of hopes. Now our profession has got some legal status, and our profession will be now having more and more value and more and more of we will be treated as at par with chartered accountants and all that. Lots of hopes were there in our fraternity those days. And Bureau of Energy Efficiency actually started very well in 2002. And under that time Prime Minister was Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee. He gave a very good leadership those days, and there was one action plan prepared for next 5-10 years, and there was a lot of thrust areas, how everything done and all that. Then it was a thought that there is a need for a certified cadre of energy managers and energy auditors. And that is how Bureau of Energy Efficiency introduced a certification examination. And the first examination was announced actually in 2003. But it took another 1 year by the time first exam was held in 2004. It's a long story, but finally a lot of things were happening. And later on, it turned out to be that there are not the expectations were not matching with what was going on. So I will not go into those details, but what happened to me personally in the process. In the process, what happened, I got more and more, actually I went more into depth. Then later on I realized that it is not only about energy. We are seeing energy also in isolation. We should see more in terms of sustainability, because it is not only energy. It is also about water. It is also about food. It is also about other things. Then I happened to attend one 6 days workshop at Auroville in 2010. There I came to know that energy is just one part of it. And more and more the concept of energy, when you know go into depth, then I realized that when are we really saving energy? I asked this question in the platform of IMP, that can anyone tell when do we really save energy? Because we might be actually doing audit, we might be reducing energy bill, but when are we really saving energy? So that question took me another far and far deep, and then I connected with water, with food, and then I realized that actually food is more important. Food is where a lot of energy and water is consumed. Then why are we not talking of that? Then food also, then commercial animal farming. Why are we having animal farms like cows and this poultry? So when we go into those more and more details, then I realize that energy efficiency in isolation is not going to work. So it has to be taken in holistic, in sustainable, with connecting with sustainability. So I started focusing more from that angle, and I introduced one program, Home Energy and Resources Management for Sustainable Development. That program within IMP, Indian Association of Energy Management Professionals, it was well accepted, but it still didn't take me far. I conducted many workshops on hands-on as well as, but it didn't take me still very far. Then I was wondering, when I am taking on the larger scale, I was going into depth of that. Then later on I realized the fault lies with our education system, because our education system is such that we are actually prepared only to work as like servants, because Britishers wanted us to be not thinkers, doers. They just follow the orders. So more and more I went into the depth of education system. Then I thought of linking education with sustainability and energy. In the process, I thought of starting a primary center for home homeschooling, self-learning kits, whereby we can integrate sustainability and all these concepts in the curriculum itself, and the pedagogy, and uh, educated, so that real purpose of education, that is for action, happens, not just getting knowledge. And with the latest development of technology development, information is freely available, and there is no need to go to school. Then I thought the biggest energy saving idea can be if we make energy education with the least energy consumption and more sustainable. Now, so many buses are going, so many schools are there, colleges are there. So unnecessary, we have created one infrastructure which is very highly energy intensive actually. But no one has given this thought so far. I wrote to Director General Bureau of Energy Efficiency that bureau we must focus on that. Then I also gave some ideas, and DG told me, whatever you are working, you keep sharing with me. I shared with something, but I didn't get much response. So that is how then other mission Sustainable India was conceived. So this is all my background, and for few minutes I would like to go through my presentation, today's presentation. Dr. Rajesh, can I?
Please start sharing, sir.
Yeah. Sharing. Where is the sharing option? Here.
Yeah. Third icon with
Huh?
arrow mark, with our arrow mark.
Yeah.
Don't share your window, share your screen.
This one came, huh?
No, nothing is visible right now. You first open your presentation on your laptop, minimize it, then start sharing.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
This one, no?
No, nothing is.
No.
Yeah, it's okay. Now go to the slideshow. Your screen is visible, sir. Go to the slideshow. Otherwise, that is okay.
Now it's appearing.
Yeah, it is appearing and it is visible to everyone.
So, welcome to this today's presentation on energy and sustainability aspect in basic education. So, first of all, we must understand, what are the aims of education. Our education system was designed by Britishers, not even 200 years ago, and they wanted, those who they can give orders. Those people who wanted only to create a cadre who can follow the orders, not think. So those days for them it was suitable. Unfortunately, in 1947 when we got independence, not much thought was given on this, and the same system was continued. What Britishers had introduced, Macaulay had introduced. It took another about 30 years when first our policy was announced. So what we say that as per the philosopher Herbert Spencer, the great aim of education is not knowledge but action. Unfortunately, we were educating people more on just rote learning, following the orders, and that creativity. It was not connected with nature. It was in isolation. So as somebody told that data is not information, information is not knowledge, knowledge is not understanding, understanding is not wisdom. So we are more satisfied with data and information, and we even least with about real knowledge and understanding. So forget the wisdom. So we never prepared our generations to acquire wisdom. So we need to think what is the purpose of education, why we need to educate, when we need to educate, where, who, and whom, through whom, and how. If these questions are answered well, then we'll realize that we say that every child is special. Every child is special, every family is special. Then how can we have the same curriculum, same methodology, same type of question, same type of answer, everything is fixed? Then how can we expect that creativity, originality, or action will happen? Because we were never educated in that direction. In the process, what happened? We started creating more and more infrastructure. Oh, we need more schools, we need more colleges, we need more universities, and we forget that the basically how the education happens, how the children really learn, and we forget our olden models of education, Gurukula and other, even universities were famous. We started blindly following the Western model of education, which was in now when we connect with energy, it is very energy intensive, right? From morning when the children, now after the COVID, this has stopped to a great extent. But just imagine early morning, mother waking up, getting up, and preparing something for the kid, sending the kid to school by bus. Then bus is going, then they're being taken to school. There they are made to sit in the chair, how energy, how much energy, and finally, if you ask the kid whole day, what did you learn? So it was not connected with the outcome. So when we talk of energy efficiency, what is the input and what is the output? In terms of output here in education, what is the outcome of the learning? What they learned? It was not connected. So when if we start connecting the education with sustainable development, which is actually in which energy is part of that. So if you see the 17 goals of UN Sustainable Development Goals, number
Sir,
7
your slide is not moving.
not moving now.
No.
Sir, I think window is again being shared, not the screen.
Yeah. Again, the same problem happened. Kindly share the screen.
Not moving.
No.
I will redo it.
Please redo it. Go to the fourth icon, third icon after arrow icon, press it. After pressing, you will have two options: sharing window, sharing screen. Select sharing screen first.
Sharing the screen. Screen one.
Yeah. Dash.
Now
Yes, sir. Now it will be.
Yeah. Now you go to the slide share.
now moving.
Yes, perfectly okay, right? Now
Okay.
it is perfectly okay.
Okay. These were the slides I was showing.
Yeah.
Teams of
It's okay right now.
then 6W1H
Yes. Everything is okay right now. You can start.
of education. Why are we educating? When
Yeah.
should be when the kid should be educated? What? Where? So all these questions are remain unanswered because everything is fixed. Curriculum is fixed. How they should be taught is fixed. Questions are fixed. Answers are fixed. Everything is every whole system is fixed. So then you get the factory. These are called factory schooling, where all children of different caliber, different parents, they should come out same. So that is how they then when it is linked with sustainable development. Actually, if you talk of sustainable development goals under under this goal number 4, it is quality education. Quality education means then you have to link it with the sustainable development. And if you see energy, say goal 7 is linked with affordable and clean energy. So we are linking the education and energy when we are talking of education, sustainable development. So I have reproduced this quality education goal. So goal number 4 is about quality education. Its objective is to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. Now, what is happening? Where are the lifelong opportunities? We have compartmentalized it. Then we think once we have completed our graduation, this one, our learning stops. But it is actually when our learning begins. So under that goal, there are different targets. Besides, equitable means girls and boys should get complete equitable and quality primary and secondary education. There is a talk of, if you see target 4.7, see what it talks of by 2030 ensure that all learners acquire the knowledge and skills needed to promote sustainable development, including among others through education for sustainable development and sustainable lifestyle, human rights, gender equality, promotion of culture of peace and non-violence, global citizenship, and appreciation of cultural diversity and of culture's contribution to sustainable development. So this is when we think when we connect with energy, we we come to know that how education needs to be changed. So there I was talking about energy balance. What is the energy spent on education of per child and the relationship with the outcomes expected? There is no work has been done on this. Then there are education lobbies where they want this system to continue. Those who are writing books, they want to write books so that their books will be sold. Schools want to continue so that they can build more schools. Then officials who are into education, the education department, they don't want to change the system because then their own shop will close down. So there are education lobbies. They forget that child is actually capable of learning himself or herself. So they force their system on the children and on the parents. So what is the way forward, which not only be saving energy but also aligning the education with sustainability? And the guiding principles are we should connect knowledge to nature and people and ensure that learning is child specific. If we have child specific and family specific learning, then there will be no role of parents, and a lot can be learned from home only. Then empowering children to lead a happy and healthy life is very important. What is the use of making them do book learning if children they don't give the importance to their body, their own body. They are more focused on getting marks, scoring marks, and even they are not so happy because they've been put to that machine rote learning. Then making learning a way to realize purpose of life. Finally, it should be that what is the purpose of life? Demonstrating practical ways to live sustainable lifestyle, building commitment to democratic values of equality, justice, secularism, and freedom. With this background, we have conceived this project, Grace Shiksha Kendra, where we have aligned with 5 P's of sustainable development. 5 P means first P is planet, learning for the environmental sustainability. Second P is people, learning for the social sustainability. Third P is prosperity, learning for the economic sustainability. Then fourth P is peace, for inner peace and world peace. Then fifth P is partnership. So we can work together as a team. So these are the recommendations for sustainable education, which will be very low energy consuming as well as more sustainable education. Where pedagogy based on whole universe is our classroom. Instead of classifying, one classroom only the learning place, actually children can learn anywhere. As we have shown in our logo here, they can learn in home, they can learn in just on the street, in the city, like that. So what is required is neighborhood. What we can do is instead of schools, we should have neighborhood facilitation and activity center, so that the children can study at home. But for any doubts, for any activities and experiential learning, experiments, practical and hands-on training, they can just walk in. Anytime they can walk out to the neighboring facility. There is no need to travel, and there is more of hands-on experiential learning. And existing private school can be utilized as a community school, vocational training centers, and government school can be utilized as hands-on practical experience. Actually, there is a more need for playgrounds rather than school. So some of the big schools can be converted into playgrounds. If we do this, then education will become the single biggest energy saving area. And with that kind of education, if we impart to the children, when they grow up, when they become professionals, when they take charge, they themselves automatically will be working on energy efficiency as well as sustainable development. This is the final conclusion I draw. So instead of working in isolation, taking some compressed air system, taking some energy efficiency in textile mill, energy efficiency in this and that, it is not going to help much unless we start with primary education, start with the early childhood education and align that education with all the sustainability. Energy being part of sustainability, automatically children will grow up in another 5-10 years. The whole generation will be working actually without their realizing on an energy efficient and sustainable path. Thank you. With this, I will end and can start and question answers.
Sir, first of all, thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much for this very lightning session, and I would like to summarize your presentation.
Yes,
And
please.
first of all, I am very much thrilled to hear your journey as a energy efficiency expert, and you have given the holistic view also, and you have told that your many programs has already been accepted by many forum like EMP and others utilities, and you mentioned that there are still many questions that remain unanswered
Right.
because of their factory education system in India.
Right.
You also talked about 18 goals of sustainable development, and you specifically talk about the quality education goal number 4.
Yes, yes.
Uh, and you emphasis on the energy balance, energy spent on a education per child, and a relationship when the outcomes expected. You also talked about the way forward, the guiding principle. You emphasize that the education should be child or family specific, and you very well discuss about the 5P theory. And in the nutshell, what was your message? I can say in a nutshell, you want our education to be aligned with the sustainability. If I am not wrong, am I right, sir? Sunil sir, are you getting me? Hello? Sunil sir, are you getting me? Please unmute yourself.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Yeah. Finally the message, the total actual message was you want our education system to be aligned with the sustainability. Am I right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Exactly. Now I am coming to some basic question as an energy manager or as an electrical engineer comes in my mind, comes in the minds of almost all the engineers sitting here. I would like to start with that question first. The very first question, sir, as a good learner, I want to know how do you see the future of energy efficient management in India? What is your view on that one?
You want to hear the hard fact, or shall I be?
Yeah,
Should
yeah,
I?
yeah. We are ready to listen the hard fact from directly from the mouths of horses. You are the real gem of the India, and you can tell us the fact happening in India and what is your view on that thing. How do you see the future of energy efficient management system in India?
If you're talking of cadre of energy managers and energy auditors,
Yeah.
then there is no future at all, because the way we has been pursuing it since 2006 or so, when we were forced to form an association of Indian Association of Energy Management Professionals, and unfortunately that thing is going on. There is no change in their policy. to really, it was the job of BE. That is why BE was created. Bureau of Energy Efficiency was created why? To institutionalize energy efficiency in one sentence.
Right.
So
Right.
did they really do it? If you see before B and after B, so you will find that before B came into existence, lot of energy audit work was already going on, and it was more voluntary and more of little bit of promotions, other thing, without any legal obligation, without any mandatory needs, and they not many people know. When Bureau of Energy Efficiency declared examination that they will conduct a certification examination under the EC Act, I was one of the first to point it out to them. Nowhere it is written that we need to conduct an exam. They can just take an interview they can impanel. They can have some criteria based on experience, I think. They take an interview and impanel. Because earlier PCRA was already impaneling energy auditors. And many state education agencies like MPUV, JEDA, TEDA, they were already impaneling energy auditors. Then when we told that there is no need for exam, but they wanted to take exam, you know why? No one will believe Bureau of Energy Efficiency didn't have money. They wanted to earn money. And NPC collaborated with B. NPC misguided B. And because they also wanted to make money. So they collaborated and they somehow prepared this one, that examination is to record, and they declared the examination to be held. 10,500 rupees fees they fixed. And all they were doing then was selling the examination idea. And because many people who is sponsored, they won't bother for money. So they, for a sponsored candidate, they kept money 20,000. Like in this process, B got money. Okay, even then we were happy. Okay, at least some certification is happening. But after the examination, they did not give us any certificate even. They only gave us provisional certificate. So there was no recognition. And they didn't come out with any such scheme whereby all those who passed as energy managers, energy auditors could be utilized. So when we are taking up this issue under energy, in Indian Association of Energy Management Professionals, they were going on justified. And there were many among our own fraternity, they had no actually vision. These people had no idea of the field. They had simply passed an exam. See, any idiot, really I'm telling you, any idiot of energy, in any engineering idiot can pass this exam. There is nothing great because it is just 50% marks. No one had even used one tongue tester. No one had even used even one thermometer. No one had even used one anemometer. How to use. They have not even done one energy audit. Then how they are satisfying as an energy auditor? When we told them that those experienced people, they are having so much experience behind them, and those new people who have no idea even of the field, when the energy efficiency field, when it started, when the Second World War, when the second oil price shock happened in 1976, that is when PCRA was formed. So energy efficiency field is not, they came after the 76. PCRA was the first agency, Petroleum Conservation Research Association. It was in 76, way back. Then 83, Interministerial Working Group formed, and then that is when Energy Management Center was formed. Energy Management Center, which later merged into Bureau of Energy Efficiency. Those were the beneficiaries of the Energy Conservation Act. They started enjoying, that's all, because then a society was formed, was merged into in a mandate, where which is having mandatory need. So to cut the thing short, if you project from 2006 to now 2020, What is the great thing Bureau of Energy Efficiency steps have taken? I will tell you, they have taken one step forward and two steps backwards. So what is happening? You see, out of 40,000 who appeared, hardly 260 accredited energy auditors are now there. Among them also, half of them are not actually active. And B doesn't want to remove their name because then their own list will become very small. You see, B is accrediting after the certification, and the criteria is not only illogical, totally illogical criteria, but it is also illegal. They went ahead with accreditation which was totally illogical and illegal. And the result, only 260 plus accredited energy. Half of them are even not active because they somehow managed to get accreditation. They thought lakhs and crores they will earn. There were not opportunities. So,
Sir, with your due permission, I would like to go to the second question that is very relevant.
Please.
That is, actually, what happens as a human being, as a normal citizen, I want to start basically what happens that charity always start with your home. When I think about energy efficiency and I want to implement something energy efficiency from my home, how to start it and how to implement the same? Because you are the very good expert in that. You have started that Grey Shiksha Kendra also. Kindly give some tips how to start that thing at home.
Thank you, Rajesh. This was actually my passion. You know, in 2007, when I became president of IMP, and I had to address the people as a president, all the members actually were shocked. They were telling what this fellow is nonsense talking. Because I introduced first time, as you rightly said, charity begins at home. So this was my first presentation that the energy auditor, before we approach others, let us set our own house in order. So I want to use that all our members should do our home energy audit.
Yeah.
And I prepared a detailed home energy management program. So in my own case study, I prepared. This is how I started. You see, those days I am talking of 2007. Now, how to conduct your own home energy audit? So what I did, I got hold of a meter, electronic meter, which was giving me even 1 watt reading. So first I started with my meter to check whether meter is all right, our electricity board meter. So switched off all the things. Actually, this thing I've given in detailed one article, so I can share that article.
That will be quite beneficial for all the members of Igniting
It a lot of time how I started all that. But finally, you know, I'm to tell the summary. Same, my friend house, my house were similar. His consumption was double than mine.
How come?
Because he was he had neither was neither doing conservation techniques nor he had put efficiency. I was applying all conservation techniques and setting the biggest saving was in setting thermostat of the fridge. Actually, not many people know that. I have shared those reading. If you set the thermostat in many people put it in the middle, and they don't see as per the season or as per the loading. I used to set it every week. So I put the fridge connected with the meter and checked that reading. It was half of my friend's reading because he had put higher level. So like that.
At the same time, what is your recommendation for AC? The AC is the main gadget that consumes more power. In what should be the actual setting?
I didn't have AC. I was using a cooler, but for AC, you know, the best energy saving idea is use it on at 28 to 29 degree centigrade thermostat setting with a fan and run a super efficient now is available. Run it with a fan because see, if you see the comfort, how the comfort happens. Comfort doesn't happen only with the temperature. Comfort happens with air circulation also. what happened invariably, we put it at 20 degree, 18 degree because we want to cool the room. But actually, comfort doesn't happen only with cooler. If you understand how you get human comfort, then you realize there is some little draft is needed. That is done with the help of a fan. So set the thermostat at 28, but run with a fan at low speed. You will be saving 10 to 20%.
Okay. Finally, what do you view about the star rating of gadgets and their significance? All actually working? 5 star, 4 star,
See,
3 star.
star ratings is all, it is just taking credit of the manufacturer's performance by B and in the process making money. B doing nothing in that. B just putting their thappa on something which manufacturer already done. If B was pushing it, then I appreciate. Supposing B was coming out that okay, you do this change. Hey, for air conditioner, you increase this area or you have a better control this thing. If they had pushed the efficiency, then the credit goes to them. But what they are doing, they are only putting the label on the already existing equipment. So it is all a marketing strategy for the manufacturer. It has not pushed the energy efficiency actually. It whatever has happened, it happened because of the manufacturer's initiative. That's all. And it is simply a marketing technique. And even their claims are actually not verifiable. If you ask me, no, many they are verified. They
Sir, here in our forum, Igniting Power Engineer, most of engineers are basically power station engineers or generating station engineers. What is your tip for energy saving in a generating station or substation? Can you throw some light on that? We are very eager to know some energy efficient measures for our substation and generating station.
substations,
Substation, yeah, and generating station.
substations means mostly they will have ventilation and air conditioning.
Yes, air conditionings are there. There cooling fans are there. Cooling fans
Yeah.
system pumps for our big transformer and generators are there. And how to make all this system efficient so that we can save energy on our within our substation.
Mhm.
Any tips from your side?
See, I can only talk of my part, that is air conditioning ventilation. I
Okay.
don't know much about other parts
Hmm.
which are pure electrical. So I can only suggest to reduce heat load be-
Okay.
because there are chances. I've seen many substations
Hmm.
because they have not bothered to reduce the heat load itself. That is why they end up having bigger air conditioning ventilation systems. That is the main. And then later on, of course, conservation techniques.
Active. With your due permission, Ashok sir is with us. I would like to invite him to give some
Oh,
energy conservation tip.
please come.
Respected sir, please come here and give some tips on energy conservation. That is the main topic of our conversation today. We need your help. Please unmute yourself. I welcome you, sir. Respected Ashok sir, please unmute yourself and give some tips.
Ashok ji, good evening. Namaste.
He is in the meeting. I think he is not able to unmute. Shivani, please see what is happening.
Let me check, sir. Let me check.
He is in the meeting. Ashok Sundarman is there.
Yeah. Are you able to hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Welcome to the Forum of Igniting Power Engineers, respected Honorable Sir.
Good evening.
I
Good
bow
evening,
my
sir.
head. Good evening. I bow my head.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Kindly give some tips, because
Exactly.
I have started reading your books on practical aspects of energy efficiency. It's
Thank you,
marvelous.
sir.
Great. Now you
Sir,
are here. We want to get benefit of that thing.
two tips we have, sir. One
Okay.
is the transformer losses between the ST and LT. If it is monitored regularly during the peak load as well as in the off load or in the weekdays or the weekend days, this will give the spectrum of energy losses that is happening between the ST and LT. That is first point to monitor it. And the second one is that is catching up now is transformer online drying. That is the oil drying of this transformer oil. It is done online with cellulose type of insulation, and it is done online, which improves the quality of oil and the insulate the oil and the dielectrics of the oil, and this will definitely lead to energy conservation in the transformers, and this also prolongs the life of the transformers. This is especially for the power station engineers. You can take it up this way.
Great,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Actually, it is very well good saying that if you can't read the complete book, just read a fraction of that, and you have given me that two fraction that will lead me to energy conservation in my substation and generating station. And I urge you, I request you to kindly write a specific book on energy conservation for substation and generating station in the future.
Definitely, sir. Definitely, we will do it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Sir, coming back to Sunil, sir.
Yes, yes.
Tell me something about your mission Sustainable India 2020. What your view and thought you have already taken for that mission? We want to know something on that mission also.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to talk about this my mission,
Yeah.
which is on little back because of my Grey Shiksha Kendra.
Okay.
What I thought, because my activism and other thing, I was thinking that everyone is working in silos actually,
Yeah.
all working in compartments. Energy fellow will talk mostly energy, energy, energy. Another fellow, water fellow will talk only water, water. Another waste fellow will talk, he will think if plastic is banned, every problem is solved. Or if segregation is done, every problem is solved. So everyone is actually working in silos. And in the process, one fellow's cause is harming other fellow's cause. So how to then work together? Then I thought of taking all the issues under one roof and named it as a Mission Sustainable India 2022. As you were knowing already in 2006-7, we had prepared one vision document under IEMP, how India can achieve energy independence by 2002. In 2007, we had prepared. So that was in my back of my mind that that time I had thought of only energy. Let me now do it for the whole, everything covered. So that this mission is about that, where we are trying to integrate all the issues involved in a holistic, in a manner which complement each other.
Okay.
So we have already prepared 13 chapters, starting with the governance actually, sustainable governance, sustainable bureaucracy, sustainable judiciary, then sustainable education, sustainable energy, sustainable water, sustainable manufacturing, like that, about 25 chapters we will be having. But and we thought that by 15th August 2022, when India will be celebrating 75th year of independence, at that time, before that time, we can put India to a sustainable development path. It will be a great thing. I started this initiative in beginning of 2020, but due to this COVID and other thing, the initiative has slowed down. And now only 12 chapters are ready. Remaining 14 chapters we are working on. But in the meantime, we are thinking of releasing in two phases. So first 13 chapters will release on now 26 January 2021. So we will be linking and requesting all the stakeholders that please contribute towards this mission. Don't think who has started it, How we just take it as a your idea you put, and we can work as a as a team, so that all the issues are taken up. Now, when we see everyone has really compartmentalized too much, it's not needed. There is no need to have too much compartmentalization. We should work holistic in seeing other things. If I'm an air conditioning expert, it doesn't mean I should focus only on air conditioning, because in that case I'm really doing harm to water, I'm doing harm to environment, I'm doing harm to many other things. So my air conditioning should be such that it should be net positive for all the 5 P's. It should also add to planet, it should also help the society, it should also create prosperity, economic sustainability, and it should foster peace and partnership. So if everyone works in that direction, aligning with sustainability, then actually so this mission is about that, giving a message that whatever you are doing, please don't do in silos, in compartments. Link it with other, say 17 goals are there. You see how your work is actually affecting others. This is
Great, sir, great. And on this forum, I would like to say good wishes and best of luck for your mission 2022. And we also want to have that sustainable India growth with sustainable system. And we want to move on that path with your guidance and your that paper you are preparing. We are looking forward for that thing. Now, I would like to invite Mr. KK Murthy Saab is there. He can share his experience.
I wanted to hear
Murthy
it.
Saab, yeah. Please unmute and say a few words.
Hello. It was a great, first of all, I must congratulate Mr. Sunil Sood Saab, and of course, Dr. Arora for arranging such a wonderful webinar about the sustainable energy. As Sunil Sood Saab has said, that sustainable energy is the need of the hour. Yes, I do agree. And as he has already said that Dr. Arora has also said that the charity begins at home. That also I appreciate, and I would like that Sunil Sood Saab should share his article on this with IPS, so that people will come to know. And to be frank enough, as far as the energy saving at home is concerned, many people do not save it in the sense that they are getting the electricity free. See, free electricity should never be given to anybody.
Very right, sir.
So they don't bother, and they keep on the fans running and the lights burning and all that. So that has to be taken care of, and nothing should be free in this country. When you pay for salt, why you give electricity free?
Yes.
That is very such a commodity which is without which without electricity nothing can move in the today's scenario. So with this, I must congratulate Sunil Sood Saab for such a nice presentation, and Dr. Arora for arranging such a nice webinar with I would say an eminent personality, Sunil Sood Saab. Hats off to both of you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Now, I would like to invite my friend Saket Gupta, we have faced very good experience on home energy audit through one of the firm in Delhi. And I would like to invite Saket Gupta, please come and share your experiences and ask the question you have in your mind about energy conservation for your home that we were discussing on that part for many days. Please unmute, Mr. Saket. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. That encouraged me to go for the house energy audit. We had spent some 2-3 days on it, and it was very enlightening experience just to know that even people, the meter is consuming more energy than a normal air conditioner, which people normally do. Where all we can, it has to be a very deep.
Saket ji, your voice is not.
Why is it
Kindly,
break?
voice is breaking. You just switch off your camera first.
I'll
Yeah.
do that.
Now it's okay.
Get some background.
Shivani, please take care. The background sound is there. Shivani,
Yeah, sir.
please unmute. Please mute everyone now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Please, Saket. Only allow Saket to speak. Saket ji, please unmute yourself. Shivani, allow Saket to speak.
सर एक्चुअली इसमें एक ही पर्सन को नहीं कर सकते हैं.
Okay, unmute everyone.
Yes, sir.
Saket, please.
Information
Saket ji, now
scattered
you can
everywhere.
speak.
What I was sharing was that the information is scattered everywhere. There should be a checklist for even a household person, which he can refer to, even if he don't know anything about electricity. People don't know about earthing and neutral, about single phase, three phase. If they're having two different phases and if the neutral is common, which people make a lot of mistakes, then the meter starts running. Even the education related to meters should also be there with even a household person. It is not the same now. Now that we have the smart meters, so I think it's a big responsibility, and Dr. Rajesh has taken up the charge with the Mr. K.K. Murthy and the entire team, and to make people aware about the very basic thing about the household audit, energy audit. And I congratulate. It's an excellent group, and I get to learn a lot from the group. That's it from my end, Dr. Rajesh. Thank you.
Thank you. One more person want to ask something. I am not getting the name. Please unmute yourself and say what is your thought. I am not getting your name here. You have raised your hand, I can see, but I am not getting your name. Shivani, can you see who is there? Who has raised their hand?
Just a minute, sir.
Please unmute yourself and share your thought and ask a question. We have Madhusudan ji, please.
Yes, good evening, sir. Thank you so much for sharing your valuable experience with us. I have one small doubt regarding our present education system. As we know that recently the Parliament has passed one new education system policy, where before COVID, how it will impact to sustain the sustainability in present education system, this new policy for future generation.
See, this NEP, New Education Policy 2020. Hello.
Sir, yes, sir.
We are getting. Please start.
It's there are many good things are there in that, and lot of good points are covered. But basic structure is not changed. Rather, they have actually increased. Now early childhood. Now the system is 5 years first, then 3 years, like that. So what is going to happen now? Actually, if you see in terms of energy consumption is going to increase to give the same outcome of expected for education from the education. And also they were supposed to have aligned with sustainability by having the curriculum linked with sustainability, but there is no talk of sustainable development in NEP 2020. In the draft, it was there was a mention, and we are very happy that the government has come out by aligning the education with sustainable development. But when the final policy came out, that portion has been removed. So the goal 4 of Sustainable Development Goal 2030, aligning it with sustainable development, is not met. So I am not very happy, and I am not having any hope that through this NEP some real drastic thing going to happen. So we have to take the things in our own hand, because actually if parents are aware, there is no need for sending the kids to schools. Government has already created open schooling. The NIOS is there, National Institute of Open Schools. So what they can do, they can create a conducive atmosphere in the home and also have a facilitation center in the neighborhood. There are communities in Bangalore, 15-20 parents are joining hand, and they are creating a sort of activity center. They are not sending their kids to school, and they educate term by term, whatever they want, and they take them out, outdoor learning, experiential learning, and for examination they go for NIOS. NIOS is equivalent to CBSE, but people don't know. Both are same. See, through NIOS also one can go to IIT and other things, but people don't know. So if we spread that thing that education has to be taken in the hands of the parents and the kids, then there is no worry. But if you again follow the same path, what has been followed so far, except for ornamental changes, nothing is going to happen much.
Sir, thank you very much. And we got the message that finally we have to align our education system with sustainability and development. And with that, already 6:21, and time to say goodbye to everyone. And we want to maintain our punctuality. Thank you very much, everyone. Special thanks to Steel sir. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation. And with this word, I would like to say thank you very much, everyone. Thank you very much.